Hello, my friends. I'm Rabbi Shlomo Segal. In case you didn't know, I know sometimes people stumble on some of our videos on the internet. If you may not be part of our congregational family or family that's joined us virtually, we welcome you. In our congregation last week or so, we have been engaged in the study of Proverbs. That's right, the book of Mishlei. Mishlei, by the way, comes the word mashol, and mashol means either sophisticated sayings or teaching through anecdotes. And that's exactly what is the rigor in this book, the book of Proverbs. The book of Proverbs is located in the third section of the Bible known as the Ketubim, comes right after the book of Psalms. That's the book of Tehillim. And it is a fascinating book written by Shlomo HaMelech, King Solomon, who was the wisest of all men. And even better, this is the most significant collection of his knowledge. It really is. And he's best known to have written three great books: Shir HaShirim, the Song of Songs, in his youth. He wrote the book of Kohelet, the book of Ecclesiastes, in old age, when he was already aged. But in the middle of his life, between those two books, he wrote Mishlei, the book of Proverbs, which is a great, great collection of wisdom. And it gives you tremendous lessons and insight into our day-to-day activities, sometimes things that we don't even realize. And that's why we are studying this book. And it really is a book which I think is going to blow you away. So I'm going to bring up the teachings. We actually, last week, we began the first couple of verses. We're going to do the third one now. And I'm going to review. First, I'm going to review the first couple of verses as I bring it up on the screen. Let me just find it. Just give me one moment, please. Okay, there we go. All right. And we're going to share it. There we go. There we go. All right, great. Terrific. All right. So we got that on the screen. Here we go. Let's talk about the first verse here. So we have Mishlei, Shlomo ben David, Melech Yisrael. Okay, so Mishlei, the Proverbs of Solomon. Now, it's interesting. You have, it says Shlomo ben David, Melech Yisrael. You're all familiar, I'm sure. Many of you are familiar with the famous song, David, Melech Yisrael, Chai, Chai, Vikayam. And then there's another tune, David Melech, Melech Yisrael, David Melech, Melech Yisrael. All right. So anyway, you're not here to hear me sing, that's for sure. Otherwise, you're going to tune out in a couple of moments. But let me just tell you, the words David Melech Yisrael, David King of Israel, that actually in itself comes from the Talmud. But what you see here, this is the original here in this section of the Bible, Shlomo ben David, okay, that Solomon, the son of David. What are we doing here? What are we saying here? Essentially, we're acknowledging our past. He's teaching you to acknowledge your past. He's acknowledging the fact that David, he was a great man. He wrote the book of Psalms, which comes right before this book. And he was a great king. And Solomon is acknowledging that he comes from this Davidic dynasty. That's what we're talking about. That's why the editors saw fit to tell us that Solomon was the son of David in order to teach us that we always must acknowledge our past, the teachings of our past, the teachings of our ancestors, and add our own wisdom into the new generation. And that's what it's really saying. Now, when it says Melech Yisrael here, the king of Israel, although David was the king of Israel, we're not referring to David, we're referring to Solomon. So it's Shlomo, comma, ben David, comma, Melech Yisrael, the king of Israel. Okay, so that's it. That's the introduction. Okay. Now, it goes on to say the following. ladat, chochma umusar lehavin imre vina. For learning wisdom and discipline. Okay, so that's the thing here. Chochma. Now, chochma essentially means knowledge. All right, we're here in this world to acquire a great deal of knowledge. That's very important. But it's not important in and of itself. It's only important if we achieve it together with some other elements. And that is umusar, discipline. All right. In other words, the purpose of knowledge is to enhance our character, to internalize the knowledge that we are gaining. Okay. Somebody can have a lot of knowledge and at the same time be very stupid. All right. And that's not what we are looking to achieve. Every piece of knowledge that we acquire has to be accompanied with the ability to develop our character to become better human beings. And that's why we say, musar, discipline. All right, developing our character through the knowledge that we are acquiring. All right, then lehavin imre vina, for understanding the words of discernment. Okay, you can only really comprehend and discern the knowledge if you internalize that knowledge. If you're using the knowledge to enhance our character, to enhance our being, to become better people, then and only then can we achieve vina, discerning, right? Thinking about what's right and wrong. We live in a society that's afraid to tell you what's right and what's wrong, but we only can distinguish between the holy and profane, and we can only distinguish between what's right and wrong if we use the knowledge adequately. There's no such thing as, well, there is such a thing, and it's wrong. People saying, I achieved all this knowledge. I have a wonderful academic degree. I hung it up on my wall, and now I can brag to people that I went to some major university. But what are you doing with the knowledge? That's what it is, okay? So it's more than just passing academic tests. It's about passing life's test, passing the tests that we are given once we enter the world. Okay, and the next Mishnah, not Mishnah, the next verse builds on that. Okay, it says here, Lakachat musar haskel, tzedek umishpat umesharim. For acquiring the discipline for success. All right, how do we acquire the discipline of success? For success through righteousness, justice, and equity. Now, just want to share with you a couple of things here, what this is all about. Why do we need these three elements? What is it essentially telling you? Well, firstly, when it uses the word tzedek, it's referring to also not just simply righteousness, but also to morality, okay? We need to have morality. We need to focus on righteousness. Now, righteousness, by the way, is a number of things. It's about being obedient to God, following God's teachings, cultivating a charitable spirit, okay? To be righteous, ever heard the term tzaddik? Somebody's a tzaddik. We have that in the Torah. We have Yosef HaTzaddik, right? Joseph, the righteous person, is somebody who's righteous. Somebody always goes around with the recognition that God is with him or God is with her. All right. We say a female version of a tzaddik is tzadeket, and tzadeket is the female version of somebody who's righteous. And that's how we relate to God through righteousness. Now, when we come to mishpat, all right, mishpat, justice. All right, justice is a very, very important component here, because justice is how we relate to other people. How do we treat other people? Do we cheat other people? We hope not, right? How do we bill our clients? How do we act when we shop in a store? How do we act in the street when we're confronted perhaps with hostility? How do we conduct ourselves with other people? And then finally, it says umesharim. Mesharim comes to the word upright, right? Mesharim yashar. Yashar means straight, right? In other words, that means integrity. Integrity means how we relate to ourselves. After the day is over, before we go to sleep at night, are we able to look in the mirror and say we conducted ourselves with a certain degree of integrity? How did we act when we were tested with the unexpected today? Did we act with integrity, or did we yield to our negative impulses or temptations? Those are definitely very, very important questions that we have to ask ourselves. So the purpose of the book of Mishlei, the book of Proverbs, and this is important. I'm going to stop sharing now because I don't no longer need to share, but this is very, very important. As we go forward, as we move forward in the book of Mishlei, in the book of Proverbs, there are three questions that you have to ask yourself about this book. Firstly, what does it mean vis-a-vis our relationship with God, right? Just spoke about righteousness. How does this book apply in the day-to-day activities as we interact with other people, the interaction with others, okay? As we talk about justice, being fair with others. And finally, how do these teachings relate to ourselves, right? Because we talk about integrity. So the question is, what does this book add to me when all is said and done? Yes, it talks about how we deal with our relationship with the Borei Olam, with the creator of the world, with Hashem, with God, whichever word you want to use. It talks about how we are to relate to our fellow human being, very important. But finally, and most importantly, what does this book add to me? What kinds of teachings are going to enhance my own ability, your own ability to be people or to be a person of integrity? That's what's very, very important to ask as we move through this book. So I look forward to next week, and thank you very, very much for watching. And by the way, if you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave that in the chat and or in the comments section. That's okay too. And feel free to ask or comment on anything you'd like, and feel free to share. And please subscribe to our channel as well, to our YouTube channel. Thank you very much.